If you'd asked me 10 years ago what my future looked like, I'd have described a dream, a cozy home in the suburbs, 2 kids with matching backpacks, a loving husband who surprised me with flowers on Tuesdays, and me juggling a career I loved while flipping pancakes on Sunday mornings. And for a while, it looked like that. My name is Allison Parker, was married to Ryan Parker for 12 years. We met in college. He was studying architecture. I was chasing a marketing degree. We were that annoyingly perfect couple, always. Laughing, holding hands, whispering secrets during loud parties. I believed in us so much, I made us the center of my universe. When we married, I stepped back from my career to focus on family. I had 2 beautiful kids, Emma and Nathan. And I poured myself into motherhood, school pickups, playdates, home-cooked dinners, birthday parties. Ryan, meanwhile, climbed the professional ladder from junior architect to senior partner at a top firm. I thought we were building a life together, but love doesn't always leave with a bang. Sometimes it slips out the back door in silence, and you don't notice until the house feels cold. Late nights became overnights. Business trips multiplied. His phone, once left casually on the counter, became glued to him, locked, hidden. Calls were suddenly private, hushed, taken in the garage or on the deck, and emotionally. He was still. They're sitting across from me at dinner, sharing a bed, but he wasn't with me anymore. The moment everything fell apart came quietly. A forgotten smartwatch, charging on the kitchen counter. One vibration. A preview, M. Miss you already. My hands trembled as I picked it up. I wasn't a snooper, never had been, but curiosity twisted into dread. The messages were all there, synced from his phone. Her name was Michelle. She worked at the firm. They'd been seeing each other for nearly 9 months. He had lied about everything, work trips that were actually weekend getaways, late meetings that were candlelit dinners. In their messages, he told her he wasn't happy, that I didn't understand him, that our marriage was just a formality. I sat at the kitchen table, the kids at school, the dog asleep at my feet, and I let the weight of it crush me in silence. But I didn't scream, I didn't beg. I didn't even cry long. What I felt was rage, cold, controlled, focused. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity, power, a clean break, but on my terms. So I played my part, smiled, cooked, kissed him goodbye. While inside, I was building a case. I gathered it all: bank records, location logs, screenshots, credit card charges. I found out he'd rented a downtown condo with our savings, opened a secret credit card, bought her jewelry, flew her to Napa while I stayed home sick with the flu. He wasn't just unfaithful, he was careless. I backed everything up on a flash drive, created a separate email. And then I waited. Then came the night of Emma's dance recital, something she'd been practicing for 4 months. Ryan swore he wouldn't miss it. I bought him a new shirt and tie. She checked the door every 5 minutes, waiting an hour before the show. He called. Client dinner. I can't get out of it. I checked the GPS tracker I had secretly installed on his car. He was at the condo. With her, I smiled at Emma, wiped her lip gloss, and told her she was going to be amazing. And she was. But afterward, while other dads handed out roses and took photos, I lied and said he got stuck in traffic. She didn't cry, but I saw the hurt in her eyes, and I knew it was time. The next morning, I rose before the sun, got the kids ready, and dropped them off at my sister's. Told her I had a doctor's appointment. Then I drove to Ryan's office. I wasn't there to make a scene. I came for precision. Closure. I waited in the parking garage when he arrived, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. He didn't see me at first. I stepped from behind a column. He froze, eyes wide. His mouth opened, but no words came. We need to talk, I said. He tried to play it cool. Can it wait until later? I smiled, steady as stone. No, Ryan, it really can't. I've got a meeting. No, I interrupted. No, went to a nearby coffee shop. I didn't chill. I didn't cry. I pulled out a folder and laid it flat on the table. Inside were printed pages, photos, messages, receipts, evidence. He turned pale. Alice and I. This isn't what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like, I said, and no, I'm giving you 2 options. Haluk confused. You tell Michelle it's over, you quit your job, and you agree to a fair divorce. Or I send this ITAPETH folder to your boss, your parents, and her husband. Yes, her husband, I hadn't mentioned that part yet. Oh yes, Michelle is married. 2, and I had already made a contact with him. His name was Greg and was just as shattered as we had spoken several times by then. He was soft-spoken and just as blindsided. We became allies in a way 2 strangers spalled into the same storm. Ryan stared at me stunned, then his face hardened. You wouldn't dare try me. He didn't say much after that. He left, slamming the door behind him. I knew he would go straight to her, and that was fine. I had already decided what came next. I wasn't waiting around for him to pick between us. I was going to burn the fantasy to ground and walk away with my head held high. This wasn't the end, not even close. It was only the beginning. After that meeting at the coffee shop, Ryan didn't come home for 3 days. Note that I expected him to. I imagined him crashing at the condo he shared with Michelle, pacing the floor, trying to convince himself that I was bluffing, that I was just another hurt wife throwing a tantrum, but I wasn't hurting no more. Not in the way he thought I was. Focused. I was ready, and I had just begun. Kids asked questions. Of course, I gave them vague but reassuring answers. Dad had to work out of town last minute, meaning nothing to worry about. They accepted it. For the most part, Tima had always been sensitive, though she watched me carefully like she could sense something shifting in Nathan while he was too young to understand. But I made a silent promise to both of them, whatever came next, I would protect them from it. On the 4th day, Ryan came back. I was in the kitchen. I heard the garage door open. Miss stomach tightened. I had mentally prepared for this confrontation, but still seeing him again made the air feel heavier. He walked in carrying another night bag, his shoulders tense, face drawn. I need to talk to you, he said. I'm listening, I replied, not looking up from the dishes. He dropped his bag by the stairs and leaned on the counter. It told her it's over. I didn't react. I packed up the condo. I'll cancel Thelly's this week still. I said nothing. I'll talk to the firm. I'll ask for a transfer or resign if I have to. You arrest Rozozi. Get it good, I said. Quietly, he looked at me, almost expecting a thank you. It was Slablim. Not doing this because I want to save our marriage, I added. I'm doing this because I want control over how it ends. That stunned him. I'll file the papers, I continued. We'll divide everything legally. You'll have visitation rights with the kids, but I want full physical custody. You can have the boat. I'll Keith's house. I'll also need spousal support until I return to work full-time, and nothing isn't a negotiation. Blinked, caught completely off guard by how composed I was. Solacing. Look, I messed up. I know that bit. Maybe we can know I cut him off. You didn't get to cheat on me for nearly a year and then come back here trying to write the ending. You built your little world with her. You threw our familia aside for it. So now you live with what is left. He left that night. No yelling Norgamans, just silence. I think Heffinelli understood that the woman had thought he could manipulate had vanished. Day wasn't broken. I was sharpened. What Ryan didn't know, what no one knew, waste that. I wasn't just planning a legal separation. I was orchestrating a complete takedown. The first step was professional. I reconnected with former colleagues and clients, updating them on my availability for marketing work. I worked quietly but persistently. Within weeks, I had a steady freelance schedule and enough income to stand on my own, and needed that independence, not just financially but emotionally. I refused Tobe, the woman defined by betrayal. This step was social. I didn't isolatumus. Quite the opposite. I invite friends over, joined local groups. Evan started running again with the Funi Borhood moms. People noticed that change in me. They asked questions. Insert. Vaguely, I didn't need pity, I needed strength. Every time I laced up my shoes and hit pavement, every time I hosted a dinner party with a smile, I was reclaiming pieces of myself that Reen had chipped away. But the third step, the most important one, was strategic. That's where Greg came in, Michelle's husband. We had kept in touch since our first conversation. At first, it was just to share updates, compare stories, exchange pieces of the puzzle, but over time, we formed something deeper, a shared understanding that only those betrayed in the same specific way could have. Greg was calm, measured, and smart. He wasn't out for blood, but he wasn't going to let her walk away clean. Ether still doesn't know, I know. He told me during one call, "You haven't confronted her." I asked, "I'm waiting for the right time." We agreed that if we moved too fast, they'd just twist the narrative. Mitchell would play the victim, Ryan would claim it was just a fling, but if we moved deliberately, precisely, we could expose them in a way that left no room for excuses. Greg started by collecting his own evidence, bank statements, message photos. We shared timelines, alibis, Evan hotel confirmations. It felt like building a case, and in many ways it was not. A legal one, but a moral one. We wanted them to face the consequences in every corner of their lives. Not from us, but from the people they lied. Tough careers they risked. The familias the broke, and then came the perfect opportunity. Michelle's firm, the same one where Ryan worked, was hosting a springla, a big formal affair with employer spouses, clients, and board members. It was supposed to be a celebration of the company's success. Greg managed to get an invitation thanks to a client he knew. And me, I came as his date. I wore a dark green dress, sleek and understated. My hair was up, my heels sharp. I looked nothing like the woman Ryan had seen crying in our kitchen a month ago. Greg wore a clean black tux, his demeanor cool and composed. We didn't arrive early, wetted it perfectly, walking in just after Rihanna and Michelle had made their entrance. The look on their faces when they saw us was indescribable. Arian turned pale, its eyes darting between me and Greg like we were ghosts. Mitchell's smile faltered, then froze. I raised my glass and nodded. We didn't cause a scene, we didn't need to. We moved through the crowd with purpose, mingling with clients, exchanging small talk. We dropped subtle hints here and there, references to our shared experience, little comments that made people curious. And then, just as dessert was served, Greg slipped an envelope to one of the board members. Inside was a collection of mails and photos. Nothing scandalous, but now to prove misconduct. See, Michelle and Ryan hadn't just been cheating on their spouses, they'd been breaking firm policy. The company had strict guidelines about interofficial relationships, especially ones where one person had authority over the other. I was technically on a team Rihanna versus by. The following Monday, HR was involved. An internal investigation began, and within a week, both of them were asked to resign. They didn't go quiet. Lyrian tried to spin it, claimed it was consensual, said they weren't technically violating policy. Michelle cried and begged for a second chance, but the damage was done. Clients were wary, trust was broken. The firm didn't want the liability. When Rian called me later that week, I let it go to voicemail. His message was briefy. "Hope you're happy you destroy a dairy thing." I didn't respond because he hoed it backwards. I didn't destroy anything. I revealed the truth. The life he ruined wasn't mine, it was his own. As for Greg and me, we didn't become a couple despite what some people expected. Remained friends. Our connection was forged in fire, but it wasn't built for immense. We helped each other through the worst of it, and then we gave each other space to heal. I finalized the divorce that summer. The kids stayed with me, but Trion had visitation every other weekend, moved into Osmol apartment across town, and took a lower-level job at another firm. The house felt quieter without his presence, but not emptier. In fact, it felt lighter, like we could finally breathe. There were nights I cried. Of course, healing isn't a straight line. Sometimes the memories came rushing back, the birthdays he missed, the lies he told, the years I gave away without question. But then I'd look at Emma playing piano or Nathan building Lego towers on the floor, and I'd remember why I did it, why I had to best strong for them. For myself, revenge, I learned, doesn't always look like fury or fire. Sometimes it looks like silence, like poise, like walking into a room and holding your head high while the people who wronged you shrink in their seats. It's not about Making them suffer. It's about reclaiming Thepowar they thought they stole, and I had reclaimed mine piece by piece. Time moved on, but the past didn't just vanish, it lingered sometimes in the form of falkward glances at the grocery store, sometimes in the tone of a friend who didn't know whether to ask how I was or pretend nothing had happened, but I welcomed it, all of it, because those ornaments reminded me of how far I'd come. Yen tried to rebuild his life. He moveto, a smaller, firm one that didn't ask to. Many questions. Michelle left the state entirely. Last I heard, she was working for a startup in Denver. Neither of them ever apologized, not since Aurelian made a half-hearted attempt on cedering a drop-off with the kids, but I could him often say sorry. Because you feel guilty, told him say sorry when you've learned something. He didn't argue, he just nodded and walked away. Maybe Heffinali understood, maybe not either way. It wasn't my burden anymore. The kids adjusted better than I expected. They were young, resilient. Emma asked 2 questions. Sometimes why Daddy Denala with us, why people whispered when they saw us in public. I answered honestly, within reason. I didn't want to poison her with bitterness, but I refuse. Said to let people make mistakes, I told her one night as I tucked her in, but the important thing is that we learn who we can trust and who we can become, no matter what. Looked at me with those big, thoughtful eyes and said, "You're brave, Mommy." That's when I finally cried, not because I was sad, but because someone saw me. There May kept moving forward. I took on bigger freelance projects, eventually launching my own marketing consultancy. I made new friends. I started hiking on weekends even. Went on a few dates, not to fill a void, but because I was finally Heleno to share space with someone without giving myself away. In Pisa Zone, spring afternoon, I stood in my backyard watching Nathan chase a soccer ball and Emma practice cartwheels. The sun was warm, the trees full and green. It hit me, then this was my life, not the broken remnants of a marriage. Not thief to mouth of betrayal, but some of the January mine, something I rebuilt with inch and strength and clarity. Revenge wasn't fire or fury, it was peace. It was standing in the sunlight, surrounded by laughter, knowing I had survived the storm and came out stronger. That was theming. I chose not destruction, but freedom, and I'd never give it up again. Thanks for watching. Bye.